Welcome to the Forest All Over the World Palace preview. We have Chris from Dubai Trickies in Phuket in a taxi on the way to the airport, which is proper Forest All Over the World. We have Jan from NFSC South West. And then we have Dr. Statsman Will joining us. He rarely comes on with other people, but he's joining us for this Palace preview. But yeah, welcome everyone. I'll add some music in the background now. And then we'll just sort of roll into it. Okay, we'll start with Jan. Jan, how are you doing down there in the Southwest? You're the chair of that supporters group, I believe now, yeah?
I am, yeah. I was doing well until I saw Chris's tag here, Dubai Trickies and Phuket, Thailand. You definitely win on locations, I think. So I was feeling pretty good until I saw that. But I'm down in the Southwest, down in Bath today, and then going down to Devon for half term. Which is where I'll be watching the game on Monday.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. It's always interesting. I mean, it's been a while, apart from the last 2 years, obviously, but prior to that, Monday Night Football feels a bit different to us, I think. I think it's something that kind of feels like, I forget that we play on Mondays. I'm so still in my head ingrained of the Tuesday, Thursday kind of championship thing. That this Monday night game I'm quite excited about. Obviously missing a few players, but I'll go straight to Chris in Phuket. Chris, how are you doing, mate? You well? Is there a delay? Are you in a taxi? Where are you exactly?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me on again. As you can see, I take every opportunity to be on the podcast. I'm on the way from Phuket to Krabi, actually. So I'm flying back to Dubai tonight. So I'm getting there in good time because the weather's not been great. So I've got another hour to go. So it's been perfect timing, really.
The commitment of you doing a podcast from a cab in Phuket is quite legendary. You sent me a voice note basically saying, listen, if you want, I'll just jump in on the taxi. I was like, this would be great. This is proper Forest All Over the World. So I massively respect it. Where are you watching the Palace game from, Chris?
I agree, mate. Commitment is the word, but if my wife heard it, she wouldn't use that word commitment. She'd probably want to check my head. And we're watching it from just from my house, because we do normally meet Dubai Trickies. We do Saturday, Sundays, but the Monday will be 11 o'clock at night. It's a step too far, really. There will be a few that meet, but myself, no, I don't think so. I'll be watching it from home.
Step too far to watch the game, but not a step too far to do an episode all the way from a taxi in Phuket. You're an absolute legend. And we have Will, Statsman Will, Dr. Statsman Will, who is back on again. I'll unmute you there and give you an acknowledgement. Will, how are you doing? Where are you watching the game from this week? Is it in Sheffield amongst the Sheffield United fans who were bitterly disappointed from losing that game against Leeds there last night?
Yeah, I will be watching in Sheffield, and I probably will be watching it with a lot of Sheffield United fans. I mean, I obviously can't quite compete with Chris for dedication there, so I'll be watching it in a pub. I'll try and rock some sort of Forest memorabilia, but yeah, I think I'll be on my A pretty much.
Brilliant. Your internet's slightly choppy there, but I mean, I'm sure it'll come back. I will just go to Jan here really quickly and just have a quick chat about. We'll talk about the fines a little bit later, because that obviously happened all this week. It was a bit wild, all the fines. I mean, it was like just a pile on, really. But we'll chat about those a little bit later. I just want to initially get your take on Palace on Monday, Jan. They are in really bad form. They haven't won a game. So obviously they're coming to the City Ground. They're going to be desperate to get a result. I don't think they're going to come for a draw. I think they're going to come for an all-out win, which hopefully plays into our hands a little bit. What sort of threats do you think that they offer? Obviously the obvious ones are Eze and Mateta, but are you concerned about them coming to the City Ground like really, really gunning for a win?
I don't think the table does them justice. I don't think they've been playing that badly. I think a couple of goals either way, and there are a few positions at the table. Likewise, we've done well. We've done well against Liverpool and Chelsea and got those goals there. So I don't think it's going to be. I don't think we're going to steamroller them by any means. I do think it's a game that I'm going to be careful with my words rather than saying we should win. I think we need to win. These are the teams that we need to win against at home. Those sort of mid-table mid-table teams, and we beat these teams, and we go into the teams against the Sky Six with a bit of a spring in our step and a little bit more confidence rather than feeling the additional pressure. So, and I think we will. I think we'll be fired up. I think the the fines and the bans and all that will get the boos going at the start of the game when the Premier League anthem's played, and I think the fans will be riled up. It'll be under the lights. And I think we'll have a bit of fire in our belly. So I do think we'll win. I think we need to win's a bit too strong, but these are the kind of games that we need to be winning as well.
Definitely. And I also think, I believe that the crowd will be fired up. Like the City Ground, the away games have been, the mood has been buoyant. We've been loud. We've been raucous. And there has been a tiny bit of a drop off the City Ground. I've only been to one City Ground game this year, and I went to an away game there against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. But from what I've heard from everyone, the City Ground there hasn't been that jeopardy that there usually is. And I think the underdog siege mentality that we can take from these fines will add to that. And I think it will help. I really do agree. My biggest fear, I suppose, is just the midfield. Chris, our midfield is a bit decimated at the moment. We've got James Ward-Prowse banned. Morgan Gibbs-White won't be playing because he's banned and possibly injured as well. We've got Sangarian obviously still out. We are now going in there, obviously, with Yates, who's done very, very well. We'll probably start Anderson and maybe Dominguez, depending on whether Anderson plays the 10 or not. Are you a little concerned about the midfield, or are you looking forward to seeing some of these players step up, Chris?
Exactly what you just said at the end there, Chris. I think the subs have been great when they've come off the bench. I can't remember a season where we've had such a strong bench, and when people have come on, I've gone, I haven't looked at the clock and gone, oh, can we see this out? I've gone, you know what, we might push on and win this. I just hope we learn from the last time Gibbs-White didn't play, when we kind of changed too much, 2 strikers up front, they had no wingers. I just think we changed too much for the opposition. I really hope that we just attack this, as you mentioned, under the lights. We'll give a bit more atmosphere, and then a Monday night, I think it will. I would probably go with. Well, we'll go into it later, but I would push Jota in to start in Gibbs-White's place. That's what I'd love to do. It's difficult because before I came on, I was thinking, I want Anderson in that position because he deserves a chance, and that's just natural, and I think it's his best position. But at the same time, and that would mean Dominguez holding with Yates, and then Anderson just in front, and then Jota coming off the bench, as we mentioned. But every time I've seen him, I watched the Newcastle game when he played, he was fantastic. When he comes on, he looks like he can do a bit of everything. He can hold it up. He's irritated. He's strong. He's got a good shot on him. Showed against Newcastle, that finish. I just think he deserves that chance, and I'd love to have Hudson-Odoi, Jota, and then Alanga on the right, playing just behind Wood. And I think Anderson would complement Yates in there as well. It's not too defensive, but we've got Anderson can link up the play and push forward. So I think that would be the perfect starting lineup. I'd go for that. I think Jota deserves his start.
Yeah, agree. Look, actually, I'm not sure, to be honest. Dominguez is also pushing for that number 8 role. Like, he hasn't really had a chance to start games for us this season. And I wonder, is he thinking, now that most of the midfield is gone, should I really get my chance? And then that pushes Anderson into the 10, because I do think Anderson's going to start. And I know you love Anderson as well, Chris. So it's kind of a difficult, it's kind of a dichotomy for you. So I don't know. I will go into our lineups now in a minute, but I would potentially try and start Dominguez and see if he can do it well from the off, because coming off the bench, he's kind of struggled a little bit. I think he's better at starting games as Dominguez. He's got that energy, and I think it's important to give him his chance as well. Whereas Jota Silva seems kind of happy coming off the bench and doing work late in games to try and get us over the line. The concern, I suppose, is, Jan, we're playing Palace after we've come off the back of that Fulham home game. And my worry, I'm going to unmute you here. My worry is that the Fulham home game, my worry is that our last win was at Anfield. So we haven't won in 3 games. And this is a game everyone will be expecting us to get back on the scoreboard with. But my concern is, if it keeps drifting and we don't win this Monday, then we're 4 games without a win. And then we go to Leicester and we're up against, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just a little concerned with that. You know what I mean? I don't want it to keep going on too long. I want us to get that win in the bank.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think Nino's got to keep it. There's a lot of variables going on, right? We're not going to have Morgan Gibbs-White. We're not going to have Nuno on the touchline. There's a lot of stuff changing. There's a lot of kind of players in and out of the team. So the one thing I think he can do is to keep the formation consistent. And the most consistent formation we've played is a 4-2-3-1. So keep that consistent. I think the back four picks itself-ish, though Williams has been playing pretty well. And just get that consistency in the team so that we know at least the formation we're playing. Everybody kind of knows where everybody else is going to be on the pitch. Don't do the 4-4-2 thing that we did last time at the Fulham game. I was there for that, and it was just bizarre. It was bizarre in the last 20 minutes. I couldn't see what kind of formation we were playing. So we've got to set ourselves up to give ourselves the best chance of winning that game. And I think that kind of consistent formation, the formation that we've played at home most often, that we've got the results from, we kind of start from there. I'd start Jota as well, but I'd start him on the right. I think Elanga is most effective in two scenarios. If the defence has got a high line, or in the last 20-25 minutes, that's when, you know, his pace is most of a threat. That's where we can get the most out of Elanga. Not at the start of a game when it's a bit 50-50 or teams are sitting deep. I don't think he's at his best then. So I'd put Jota on the right and start Anderson in the middle. I think was how I'd get Jota into the game.
Interesting. Yeah. And so would you bring Elanga off the bench and then start Hudson-Odoi, Jan?
Yeah, Hudson-Odoi on the left and bring Elanga on the bench for last half an hour, you know, when it's all a bit stretched and they're a bit tired. I think that's where he's you know, we can capitalise most on the threat that he brings. Absolutely. Right.
Well, you may as well give your team then. I imagine you're starting Sells in goals and Milenkovic, Murillo and Aina on the right. But would you start Williams or Moreno?
Yeah, I've toed and froed with this. I'd start Williams, you know. I do like Moreno, but defensively on a one-on-one, players get past him. Against Fulham, Traore was past him every single time. He got 5 incredibly bad crosses in past Moreno within the first 10 minutes. At Fulham, and I just think Williams has been playing well. He played well for Wales. He knocked that kind of Trent Alexander-Arnold pass into I can't remember who it was that scored for Wales. So I'd start Williams. I played Dominguez and Yates. I played Dominguez as a 6. The reason being his ability to receive a ball tightly. You know, he receives the ball into his feet. He doesn't lose it. He gets on the half turn, and I think he's one of the best players in our team for playing that really, really accurate, short 5 to 10 yard pass. And I think that's where we struggle in the 6. I don't think Sangare is that good at that either. So I think him as a kind of ball receiver on the half term and then playing those short passes to break the lines through midfield is where I'd start Dominguez. So Dominguez and Yates, and then Hudson-Odoi on the left, Anderson, Jota, and then Chris Wood up front.
Interesting. I think that there's going to be some differences in some of the team lineups.
I think so.
Particularly, yeah. Well, with you specifically, I think so. That is interesting to say Dominguez in the 6 as well. I would always kind of have Yates in the 6, but it is interesting, and the two of them can sort of dovetail as well, and they can rotate in and out. And Yates actually looked good when he came on as the 8 in the very first game of the season against Bournemouth when we got that injury. So you're not a million miles off, I wouldn't say. Chris, in terms of your starting lineup, obviously you heard Jan there would play the 6. Dominguez is the 6. What would do you like the idea of that, or how would you start out? And give me your back four, give me your whole team. Actually, go straight through it.
Yeah, I actually listened to Jan's lineup then, and it was, you know, I wouldn't actually. It's not far off what I, you know, picked myself. Obviously with different positions for Jota, but I like that as well. Yeah, I think I would go with Moreno over Williams just because I always think if you've got Chris Wood in the box, he's going to deliver a good ball. You know, so that's kind of useful for us, especially at home. And then I'd have Yates as the 6, Anderson as the 8, and as I said before, just Hudson-Odoi, and then Jota, Elanga, and put up front. I want to play Elanga because. And I don't know if this is part of me thinking, you might think the same. You know, when all those reports of 35, 40 million from Newcastle, you're like, oh, he's got to play. He's got to be. And then I do feel like he's really good off the bench. I agree with that. Like, he's rapid. He's not a person who will beat you for a skill, but he'll beat you for pace behind, which is useful at the 60, 70-minute mark. But yeah, I want to get away from what we did last time against Fulham and kind of looked at what they had. I want to see what we've got in our locker and just go for it. So that's why I would go with slight changes with the Alanga playing, and then Moreno at left back. But everything else will be the same as we all think. I'm in a taxi in Thailand. It's not going to be the best reception.
No, you're fine. You're actually doing all right. I mean, Will's obviously struggling a little bit with the headphone settings, and you're doing okay. You're in a cab, and Jan's probably the most controlled environment of all of us. So everything's fine. Don't worry. That was good. Yeah. Personally, look, I don't think anyone really cares what I think because I'm trying to ask you guys. But I think the back four is the same, and the reason why is I think Williams has been pushing for a star, and Moreno was caught out against Chelsea. And Moreno was caught out against Fulham a few times. But I do think that there's something to be said for continuity, particularly when it comes to our back four doing well this season. They've done quite well. I know that's largely down to Murillo and Milenkovic and even Aina to a certain degree. But I think it's good for them to have a good bit of continuity. And I think if Moreno makes a mistake or it doesn't work out this time, then yeah, you drop him. But I think I'd keep him for one more game and then bring Williams on. Williams is also a bundle of energy. I love having him come off the bench sort of late in games to mix it up. He did very well against Chelsea, nearly scored a goal. And I just like the idea of them seeing him come off the bench and go, oh no, another bundle of energy just coming at us. Moreno's more of a calm player, and I'd like to keep him starting from the off and get into the game, and then I'd like to see Williams come off the bench. And I think the same for me can be said with Jota Silva. I would have Yates in the 6. I would have Dominguez in the 8, give him his chance in the 8, and then I would have Anderson in the 10, and then Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, and Wood. And I just want to keep the continuity with the front three. Obviously, we're missing Morgan Gibbs-White, but I want to see Anderson try that 10 position and just kind of see what we do. Jota Silva, Williams coming off the bench, even maybe a Sosa or a Taiwo will cause Palace all sorts of problems and headaches in the last sort of 20 minutes of game. So that would be it. And I would do 4-2-3-1 as well. I'd go the same as before, and Wood is on remarkable form. I really, really hope that he can keep that up. Right, I'll throw it to Will. Will, are you any better? You can shake your head if it hasn't changed, or you can nod. You don't know. We'll find out. I will unmute you and see what happens.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah. The audio's worse, but yeah, to have a chat there, see what the story is.
Yeah, it's amazing that Chris is in a taxi in Phuket and he's still got better sound quality than me.
I think that this is better, though, just purely because even though it's an echo, you can't hear your voice twice. So we'll just roll with this, Will. Give me your starting line up there and then tell us a little bit about Palace's threats. And speak a little loud if you can, just because the echo won't be as bad. Go for it.
I would pick, obviously, a sort of standard back four, Sels, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, and I would pick, it's difficult between Williams and Moreno, but I picked Moreno over for the extra experience. I think he's just he's less likely to get caught out of the field, I think, and he can put in a good cross with his actual left footer, right? So I think he can put a better cross in with his stronger foot and overlap Callum Hudson-Odoi a little bit there, which I think will be important. The midfield back two, so Yates and Dominguez, I think sort of. They pick themselves, but I don't know who's going to do what role. I think maybe they'll just swap and change, and one will go and one will stay. I think that's probably the best way to do it because Yates can carry the ball forward. Dominguez, we've seen, as Jan was saying, receive the ball under pressure and wriggle out of it quite nicely. I think they'll dovetail pretty well. For me, they like in the forward places. I think you've got to pick your best team when you're at home against a team that you want to win against. So I'd be Callum Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, and Wood up front, and then in that number 10 spot I'd have Anderson because that's his position essentially. He can fill in on the wing, but I think his position is primarily a number 10 and probably succession planning for when we sell Morgan Gibbs-White when that has to be. And I think Jota Silva, he can come and play in that number 10 spot, but he can also he can come onto the wing in the second half if he needs to be, because Alanga rarely lasts a whole game. Hudson-Odoi sometimes needs replacing. So I think having that in your back pocket is useful.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, now that we have your sound, Will, what about Palace's threats? Like in terms of, are you worried about them? Are you concerned about them? Their form is pretty bad, and it's bad for a reason. I think a lot of people have been saying their underlying stats have been good, which is totally fair, and I think Palace will be fine. But are you a little concerned? I mean, who are you concerned with? We always give Palace a good game. We always give Palace a good game when they come to us or when we go to them. I think we've drawn 3-1-1 since we've been in the Premier League. But what are your concerns with their threats going forward?
it'd be easy for me to just say, "Oh, Eze obviously is the man who pulls the strings in attacking midfield," and I think that's how it's going to go down. And it's important that we, like someone like Yatesy, does a bit of a hatchet job on him if needs be. But I think the real threat for us is going to be Munoz and Mitchell getting forward on the wings. I think they're going to play a five at the back, which will allow those two to get forward. They're very attacking fullbacks. But I think it will be very important how Aina and either Moreno or Nico deal with that. Because I think they'll sit deep and spring, like we like to do actually away. So it'll be important to see that we don't get caught out by those two, because I think that could really open us up, especially if we're playing a 4 at the back as well.
Yeah, it's a really good shout. I'm glad I got 2 questions in there, because your audio's back and the reception's in and out, and it's kind of good. So I'm glad you answered that. Yeah, you're right. Munoz and Mitchell do get forward, and they have been primary threats really for Palace from what I've seen whenever I see them play. Jan, in terms of how we approach this game, Chris mentioned earlier that when we played against Fulham, we didn't play to our strengths. We tried to kind of shut it down first half. I quite liked that, weirdly, when we were going into that game, because I just wanted to stop a lot of their threats. They had so many weapons, and I was concerned that that would affect us early on in the game and they'd catch us early, and they didn't, and it got to halftime 0-0, and I was okay. But that's not really the way we should be playing or approaching a game, I suppose, at home to a team that we can beat. And we beat a few months ago fairly handily 3-1 Fulham. Palace we can beat at home. Would you'd be really gunning to go with this team now, and you'd be expecting a win going into it, Jan?
Yeah, I think we have to go at them. I think it's been a couple of weeks since we've played. We're at home, it's under the lights. I think they're going to be expecting us to go at them. I agree with Will. I think their threat will be on the wing. We've been pretty solid. We've been really bloody solid at the back. I kind of have no concerns really, no threats down the middle. Milenkovic is just a absolute terminator of a centre back, isn't he? He's just a robot. The robot. There isn't anything that he doesn't do well. He's just always in the right place. So I think their threat on the wing, after we've been pushing on them, kind of catching us on the break, is their threat. So, but I don't think that should put us off. We've absolutely got to go at them, and I think we'll be fired up. Like I'm feeling confident about this. I'm feeling really, really confident. I think the scene's set for a good performance, and I think an early goal gives us that spring in our step. What we don't want to find ourselves is, I think 30, 45 minutes in after the first half, and it's still being 0-0, and then them going in at half time saying, right, come on, let's push back at them. So I think first 20, 25 minutes, bit of sustained pressure, trying to break them down, and Wood getting a couple of goals with his head would be nice, I think.
Agree. And I mean, before we move on to sort of like score predictions and the finds, I just want to kind of talk about our threat a little bit. Obviously, Wood is a big threat for us. Jan, do you think this is kind of a moment for Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, Anderson all to kind of step up without Gibbs-White? Because we saw against Fulham, we just really struggled to create any clear-cut chances, and Gibbs-White has been so instrumental for us in every game. I think we're even unaware of the work that he does when he doesn't just assist and score. He does so much work off the ball, on the ball in build-up phases towards big chances. Do you think this is kind of a moment, Jan, where we really, really need to see the best of those players without Gibbs-White in the team?
Yeah, and I think Anderson's the man. He's not got that goal yet, but he finds himself in really good positions. He kind of makes those short runs through the back line and has managed to wriggle through and get a couple of shots away on a couple of occasions. So I think, and he's confident, and he's got this knack as well of kind of receiving the ball. He doesn't look as tidy as a Dominguez, as I was saying before, but he receives the ball and he's so strong. He takes a knock and he manages to shield it and then get another accurate pass off. So I think Anderson's the man that can do it, and I think he's really, really intelligent around the box. I think again those runs he can make in and around the box through players kind of receiving the ball in tight spaces and hopefully getting a shot off. I think he might be key to it. Yeah,
absolutely. What about you, Will? What are your thoughts? Who's the sort of danger man for you in this game? Like, who are you? You're a big Hudson-Odoi fan. You've said it from the day he came in. You said he's the one. Is this a game for him?
Possibly. I think that Palace will sit deep, though. There won't be much space in behind, so it's going to be tough for Elanga and Hudson-Odoi. Hudson-Odoi obviously works really well when he's isolated someone one-on-one. I'm not sure that's going to happen too much today on Monday. So I'd imagine this is the day for Wood to score a little poacher's goal, and just tight spaces. I think it's going to be one of those. We might get a little penalty or something, a little dribbling in the box, but I think it's going to be a really tight game that's going to be decided by, just a bit of clinical quality up front. And I think Chris Wood has that, and maybe Mateta and Nketiah don't quite have that. I think that might just be the difference.
Agree. Chris from Phuket is gone. I wanted to ask his score prediction before his reception went, so this has been interesting. But I wanted to ask him just before he went, but he's gone. That's fine. Hopefully he's back. He may not be. But in terms of the fines, we'll actually no, here he is. He's back in. But in terms of the fines, Will, what are your initial thoughts on the fines? I mean, I will let the sensible grown-ups talk. You, Jan, Chris, ahead of me, because I believe that I'm just going to get a little bit outrageous talking about it. So I'll let you speak first, Will. What are your thoughts on the fines coming in this week initially?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm your man for a sensible decision. I was furious. I thought it was completely over the top fines. I thought it feels like they're trying to make an example of us, and that £750,000 fine is huge when you consider that 6 teams tried to leave the league and got about 3 million each, just for sending a tweet out last season after to be fair, a terrible decision from the referee and VAR all match against Everton. And I don't really see anything on that tweet that it was really untrue, to be honest. He was a Luton fan, and he was the VAR. So what I'd like to see us do, seeing as we're now having to pay £750,000 fine, I want us to print out that tweet, I want us to frame it, and I want us to put it in the referee's changing room, because we've paid for it. So stop them.
I love that. Fair play to you, Will. Yeah, Jan, we'll go to you next, and then we'll probably hit Chris in Phuket. What are your thoughts on the fine and how ridiculous it is, or even your thoughts in general? Do you think we deserve some of the punishment or none at all?
Yeah, I think we definitely deserve a punishment. I think those kind of things should come with some kind of reprimand, absolutely. But it was totally disproportionate, like 750 grand compared to some of the other fines that have been banded out for other clubs more recently. For you mentioned the Super League and kind of racism, chanting, and all that kind of stuff, and the fines being in the region of sort of tens of thousands. So it was utterly ridiculous. And then on the bans, the touchline bans and Morgan Gibbs-White's ban, equally again, like this was a foul that the referee said that he got the ball. And then he changed his mind, and then he's been sent off. And then the FA panel said agreed that it wasn't a sending off offence. And we've got what is it? A 3-game ban for Nuno, I think, a 1-game ban for Morgan Gibbs-White, and a 5-game stadium ban for the big man. Because they were annoyed about it, because they're annoyed about the performance of the referee that was proved to be incorrect. Again, I think I'm absolutely livid. I'm feeling quite angry now, even talking about it. I think Will's right. They're trying to make a point of us. I try to remain objective and rational about these things, but I don't know. There's definitely there does seem to be some sort of unfair treatment or bias going on here. It's hard to take.
It is hard to take, and for the most part, for the most part, I know a ref's job is hard. I know it's difficult, and I'm not really complaining about every single referee. I think that refs do a good job for the most part. There are decisions that are being scrutinized more heavily than others now as a result of VAR coming in, and everyone's seeing every single angle, and I get that. For me, it's just the pile-on of 750 grand, which, by the way, I've already spoke about. I think it's ludicrous that it's that much money, and I think they're trying to make a statement with it, and it's disproportionate to many other fines and many other things that many other clubs have done. Okay, the 1-game ban for Gibbs-White, I spoke to a Liverpool fan about this last night, and he mentioned the Van Dijk actually got another ban for not walking off the pitch last season in a Newcastle game, a Newcastle-Liverpool game. And I was kind of like, okay, fair enough. If that stuff does happen and it's consistent, I'm okay with it. I'm not okay with it because I actually initially thought that the tackle was a really good tackle, and I stand by that. I don't think it was a foul. I don't think it was a yellow card, and I don't accept the decision that the assistant then made, and the referee got overruled in his head and decided, actually, I'm just going to send him off. I don't accept that. Nuno's 3-game ban, I think, is really disproportionate and slightly ridiculous. I want to see examples of other managers. Someone will probably find them where they've done things that he's done or said things he said. Brighton manager got absolutely nothing. So I don't know what the difference was. Maybe Nuno said more, but 3 games seems like really, really steep. And then obviously Marinakis, we don't even know what was said or done in the tunnel in the Fulham game, but we're waiting to hear. But 5-game stadium ban, that's unprecedented as well. The amount of things other clubs, I mean, Man City are suing the Premier League right now. We're just, Henry Winter posted a really interesting tweet talking about how teams are challenging everything now. The clubs are challenging the league, they're challenging the FA. Everything is a challenge. It was a really interesting tweet that he posted. I think it was today or yesterday. And I get it. Like, we can't keep, and everyone can't keep challenging the rules in the league and everything like that. But when you get a pile on with this amount of bans, and it really will affect our season because we're going to lose our best player, we're going to lose our manager, we're going to lose our owner, who's a pretty big figure for us, for a few games at a time. And I don't accept that we're not children and they're not school teachers telling us what to do. Okay. I just don't accept that attitude. I do think it's ridiculous. And yeah, I think we're being made an example of, and I think other fans like to pile on and say, oh, it's Nottingham Forest again. Well, that's great. You're next. Like, you'll be the next ones that want to complain about something like Wolves did last year. So, Chris, I hope you're still with me. You were in and out a second ago down in Phuket. What is your initial thoughts on the bans and the fines?
It's the same as you guys, really. It's just rage with inside. Like, it's more because we all know, as Forest fans, how much we got kind of not shafted, but can I say that? Yeah, last season, it was just ridiculous. And then with some of these decisions that have happened this season already, you just feel like VAR hasn't improved. The Premier League, it's just, there's not much changes since VAR. And I think to punish us the way they have and not take into account, you know, for example, Nicholas Jackson went to slap him, nothing happened with that. Manchester City, you've mentioned, all those fines, and you know, we seem to do things and they're actioned immediately, and we're getting these fines, and we're made, to look silly when actually there's other things going on and they just kind of taper out. It's just annoying. I want VAR because there was a few times in the championships when we were like, God, if we just had VAR, it was clearly, you know, a certain decision. But at the same time, like, it just feels to us fans that it could be done so much better, and they're just not learning. And I don't know. It's just frustrating. You can hear it in my voice.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Chris. And I think the main thing as well is, again, there was another post from Winter underneath his original post where he mentioned that, you know, there needs to be, owners need to kind of come together and invest in sort of the refereeing. And I don't mean invest in refereeing and get new referees. I mean, invest in technology and training for VAR specifically, because it's a new thing. There's so many teething problems with it. And you look at rugby and how well they've dealt with the video ref and everything over the last sort of 10, 20 years. I think we could really benefit from that sort of training and that sort of stuff as well. But I mean, look, it's going to be a big debate for every club, and it's going to be other clubs are going to go into it as well. And they'll talk about Forest in the media and all, but it will be other clubs soon. We're having a good season. I don't want to take the shine off that and the focus of that. I want us to stay focused, get the job done Monday night in the Cauldron. And speaking of Monday night, Chris, I may as well throw this to you because just in case you go soon, you're getting to the airport shortly. What is your score prediction Monday night? You can give us a red hot take if you want for the game, or you can just give us the goal scorers, whatever. Go for it.
I'm going to go 3-1 Forest. We're going to be attacking. We're going to go for it. We're going to beat a team by more than one goal. I'm going to go 3-1. Wood, Alanga, Jota.
Get up. Good man. All the way from Phuket, Chris. Yeah, you absolute legend. Grant, and Statsman Will, what about yourself? You might have to unmute yourself, or maybe I will. I'll unmute you. There you go. What's your score prediction? Who do you think is going to score for us? Any red hot takes? Give us one.
I still think we're going to win, but I think it's going to be a 1-0, sort of a smash and grab. Chris Wood. However, yeah, I mean, we've drawn pretty much every game we've played with Crystal Palace recently. We've not been able to break them down, or vice versa. So I think the smart money's on a draw, but I just feel like we've got a bit more about ourselves this year, and I think Palace have started terribly, and the crowd are going to be well up for it. I'd imagine following all these fines. So I think that's just going to push us over the edge, and we're just going to nick 1-0. It won't be pretty.
Love it. Listen, we take 1-0 all day, Will. Like, do you know what I mean? I'd take 1-0. We beat them 1-0 the first time we played them, I think. And Zaha missed a penalty. He hit the post. And then Gibbs-White got a goal that was VAR ruled not offside, initially offside. So I was like, just take whatever we can get. I was actually in Canada, in Toronto, sitting down watching that on a little video phone on my bed in the morning. And I remember just thinking, I'll take whatever I can get. Jan, score prediction for you. What do you think it's going to be? Who do you think is going to score? I think you'll have to unmute yourself, Jan, as well, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Will. I think a 1-0. Pure, I do think we'll win. I think it'll be a Wood goal. I'm just feeling a little bit bruised by the last time I was on, and I thought we'd school Brighton. I think it was maybe a couple of seasons ago when we got spanked. So I made a bit of a fool of myself back then. So I think it's going to be, we are going to win, but it's going to be a 1-0, I reckon.
Great stuff. Thanks everyone for joining. And it's been bitty, but this has been edited heavily in order to make sure that all the audio, or the Chris in Phuket, or the Jan audio, or my audio, whatever, it's been edited. So it should be fine in the wash. Follow us at Forest All Over on Instagram, or at NFFC All Over on Twitter. Follow us at Forest All Over on YouTube, and like and subscribe there as well. Thanks everyone for joining, and I really, really appreciate it. Apologies for the late sort of catch up with you lads. I think I messaged you like earlier today, quite a few of you. So thanks very much for joining. Absolute legends.